Welcome to WTF What the Fright, a podcast where horror/thriller movies that you may love or hate get sliced and diced. We gash these movies open from beginning to end, as well as just having a good time talking about the movies. Each week, we will choose a movie that puts the fright in us. So get your jammy jams and get ready and cuddle with a blanket because you're in for a fright. I'm your host, Buddy, along with my wife.
Hi, I'm Kayla.
So today we're doing Halloween Kills. Last week we did Halloween 2018. I mostly chose to do these three movies first out of any of the Halloween movies, just because they're fresh on the brain and they're also, I would say, some of the most controversial Halloween of the Halloween series, in my opinion.
So.
Especially the one that's to come next. But that's for later time. So all in all, I do like this movie. As we were watching it and I was taking notes, like, I get why people can hate this movie and everything whenever you're starting to look at every little detail and stuff like that. So yeah, I understand the hate and everything for it. And some of the stuff just it's corny and makes me laugh. Even you had some jokes about it, like, why the hell are they doing this kind of stuff? So, but all in all, I have always wanted to see Michael just go to town and just literally kill the whole town, which this is what you get in this movie. So in that aspect of it, I'm perfectly okay with this movie. And it does have some faults and everything like that, but every movie does, but I'm all right with that. How do you feel about it?
I think it's pretty good.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's Michael Myers. It's kind of the same thing over and over again. You know?
That's rude.
Well, I'm just saying because every Michael Myers movie, besides the one where they had the thorn tied into it, it's just all the same. He's your typical serial killer.
Hey, put some respect on my man's name. Put some respect.
You know, but what I do find interesting, though, is his backstory. You know, he has
several different backstories in the timeline of Halloween movies.
People, let's just do this.
I know, I'm just saying.
Let's just do this timeline. So, well, let me ask you this. Okay, y'all keep in mind, I'm not a horror movie fanatic, okay? So, take it easy on me, but is the back... So, does he, like, in every timeline, is it still the same of him stabbing his sister?
Yes.
In every timeline?
In every timeline. That's how they always start.
Okay.
Even in the Rob Zombies.
So, I don't... He just has an interesting backstory, you know? But I tell you, my favorite timeline backstory is the one where you see his mom's boyfriend, and his older sister all living in the Myers house.
So your favorite backstory is Rob Zombie's backstory.
Yeah. I mean, because you get to see it all happen.
Okay, stop right there. Next year we're doing the 2 Rob Zombie Halloween movies, confirmed. And we're going to see if you still agree.
What do you mean? In this timeline, you don't get to see any of his backstory. You don't get to see
any of it in the original. I will always give Rob Zombie credit on his first one for giving Michael some background and, you know, story to go along with his character.
See, in this timeline, I would have loved to learn more.
Yeah, I agree. I would have liked to at least see, like, you know, even if it wasn't his childhood, maybe after they locked him up, or I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so because David Gordon Green,
Green.
you know, I just
Well, you got
I
to think.
wanted
Hey,
more.
hey, you got to think. David Gordon Green is a comedy guy. He made Pineapple Express.
That's a good ass movie.
so so it should tell you a lot. So and then Danny McBride also helped him make these movies, and he was in Pineapple Express, and that's why we also have characters like Big John and Little John in this movie.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about
Biggie and Smalls.
I like the Johns in this movie, but let's just go ahead go over the cast real quick. Obviously, we got Laurie Strode back.
My girl.
We got Judy Greer back. Jude Courtney is Michael Myers.
The shit.
I have no clue who the hell is playing Michael Myers in the background or in the flashback sequence. This guy's name is Arian Armstrong, and so I'm guessing that's who maybe was doing it. I always thought it was just James Jude Courtney because, like, why wouldn't you just use James Jude Courtney?
How do you even?
So Arian Armstrong, he is a stunt actor.
I don't think that's how you say his name.
Aaron. It doesn't matter. So he's a stunt actor, and he's done acted or at least done stunts in films like The Dark Knight Rises, John Wick 3. So yeah, he's like a stunt guy. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I want to know what scenes he was in though.
The flashback scenes from 1978 of the ad extension. Woo.
Oh, I see.
And then we have Will.
He was walking. Okay.
Yeah, and then we got Will Patton back as Officer Hawkins. We got a young Hawkins played by Thomas Mann. He's played in other movies. He's very noticeable.
I'm just curious.
Here you've Project X, a great movie.
Skull Island.
Kong Skull Island. Yeah, he was in Kong Skull Island. He's been in a few movies. There's definitely a few movies that him in. And then we got the young Hawkins lackey that he ends up shooting on accident. Pete. Then we got Cameron back. Tommy Doyle, played by Anthony Michael Hall. Charles Cypher, which was the original sheriff in the first and second Halloween movies.
You see, from the first one with Laurie Strode in it. No.
He's the original cop, and he's back in this. He's the security guard in the hospital.
Oh.
In this one.
Oh, so then which one am I thinking of?
I have no clue. Then we got Malcolm McDonald as Little John. Kyle Richards is Lindsay, and she was the little girl who was actually in the 1978.
Tom Doyle.
No, she's the actual. She's the Kyle Richards is the actual lady who was the kid in 1978 who played Lindsay as well.
Oh, that's nice.
And then we have Marion. She was Michael's nurse. She was actually in the first one and the second one, and then she also got to come back in Halloween 20 years later as well. And then we have Phil. He's not important. We got Marcus.
Yeehaw, cowboy.
Marcus.
Smallwood.
He's not too important either. Then we got Sheriff Barker back.
Oh yeah.
And then Christy, I have no clue. I guess she's one of the Mulaney's. I think she's one of the Mulaney's. Then we got a Dr. Loomis lookalike.
Thomas Jones.
Supposedly this guy was actually like on set, and when they were getting ready for these flashback scenes, someone pointed him out, and that's how he basically got that role.
Oh wow, they even included Laurie's EMT.
Yeah, most of these people just don't matter. And then we got
Graham.
Deputy Graham. This dude actually comes back in Halloween Ends. Deputy Graham actually comes back in Halloween Ends. And then most of these other people, they just don't matter.
There's just another character on the internet, and it just says woman.
Yeah, so most of these people.
Oh, hysterical woman.
Most of these people just.
Isn't that all of them?
Don't matter
in this movie. All.
Most of this cast is just people that Michael gets to kill. So.
Dude, Oscar's mom, man.
Yeah, she got to see her son with a hole in his face. Okay, so. Do you have any questions or anything before we jump straight into this movie?
No, I say let's go. 10 toes. Let's do it.
10 toes. All right.
10 toes.
Unless some of you have 9 or 8.
Head first. So let's go.
Hopefully not. All right. So here we go. Halloween Kills. So our movie starts out with us here in where the movie starts, us hearing like a Hawkins being, it's like relaying the sound from Hawkins being murdered, and then like you hear like Lori and them screaming and stuff like that.
Yeah, being murdered by that crazy ass doctor.
And then
Yeah, I like how it was like a it's not like really like a whisper, but it was like
yeah, it was like fading
echo
in,
it,
but then this just sets up to, so we see Cameron's like walking home from the party. He's trying to call out Oscar to see if he's with Allison or whatever, and he's like, hey, I messed up, I gotta fix this. But and then not Oscar, Cameron actually sees Hawkins, and he jumps over, he climbs over a fence, jumps over, he's like, hey man, I'll help you or whatever. um and then Hawkins, isn't dead somehow, and he's still talking after being stabbed in the vocal cords. And he's basically telling Cameron, he's like, it needs to die, and I'm gonna be the one to do it. Um,
poor fella.
and then as soon as that scene ends, we go into the flashback.
I was really surprised to see Hawkins live.
Well, yeah, he should have definitely played a bigger role in the third one, but that doesn't matter. Anyways,
Same with Tommy Doyle.
well, he's dead. Oh. Spoilers. That's not spoilers. It came out 2021. Let's get over it.
You haven't watched it by now. What the fuck are you doing?
Peace up. A lot of people still like to listen.
But if they're true horror fans, come on.
Well, that's okay. You got a good point. And then we get the flashback scene. One thing I do love about the flashback scene is how they made it look like the film was like grainy, how it looked older, like an older movie.
Wait, flashback scene.
Whenever it flashes back to 1978.
Was that really early on in the movie? I thought that was like mid-movie.
No, there's there's like two other points where it does a flashback in the movie as well. But this is our first one where young Hawkins is actually chasing Michael. Cuz after 78, the movie, Michael, gets up, he's not there, and basically this is showing that cops were chasing after Michael or whatever.
Okay.
So don't get too much into it. You're going to confuse your brain.
I already am.
So yeah, we see young Hawkins chasing Michael, and he tries to shoot him. I think he might shoot him once. It didn't look too clear, but Hawkins is a terrible shot. I really do not know how he is a cop.
Okay, I'm just going to stop you right there. Most of these people in this fucking movie are horrible shots, okay? And I can't tell you how much it makes my ass itch, but it it does.
Hey, what about the girl who shoots herself in the face? She was a great shot. But anyways, yeah, he's chasing Michael, and then basically Michael just like takes a turn and like just disappears into the night like a ghost. Don't worry, Michael does that a lot in this movie. Michael is like a specter in this movie. The other cops find Hawkins, and he tells them like, hey man, like he vanished, and like they're all like talking to each other, be like, hey, you go this way. And so then there's one cop, which is actually Pete. He's talking to Hawkins, and he was like, I used to know him when I was a kid, and like my mom would always make me go over there and play with him.
Okay, and yeah, and like all he would do was just stand there in his sister's bed.
Yeah, he would stand at Judith's window looking outside.
Was this after he killed her?
No.
It'd
be before.
He would have been sent away by.
And so he's standing looking at his sister's window, and like basically it's a whole thing, like Michael going to this window and like looking at it, and then what's he seeing, like is he looking within, reflecting, whatever.
As a kid, if my mom kept telling me to go play with the creepy kid, and I'm like relaying messages, and like, and my mom is like, hey, what did you and Michael do? Oh, nothing, I tried to play with him, but he just wanted to stand there and look out the window. He didn't really say much.
Your mom would probably tell you like, hey, you just need to try.
Oh, I don't know.
Anyways, then the one cop is basically, because Hawkins is like, yeah, Haddonfield, the town where nothing ever happens, and then Pete is like, yeah, and then one day he just snapped, and then they walk off, and then we see young Lonnie.
Okay, let me ask you this: do you think he had a right to snap
Considering that,
Is he the wait, in this timeline, did he kill his mom? Or did she still commit suicide?
you're thinking of Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Yeah.
He didn't kill his mom.
In any timeline?
No.
Huh.
She killed herself in Rob Zombies. And then she shows up in the second as a ghost to Michael.
Okay,
Walking around a white horse.
What was said about
Yo,
her about?
you will find out. We're doing that next year. Just stop. Just stop yourself right there.
No, but what did they say about in David Gordon Green?
Nothing. You don't
See, this is what I'm talking about. We need more backstory.
No.
There's so many different timelines.
The whole idea of the original 78 was Michael was just killing because he was killing, and it was because he was evil. There was no backstory, no nothing. You gotta think 1978. People weren't thinking like that.
I just need more of a story.
People weren't more complex.
But this movie was made in 2021.
Okay, yeah, but anyways, you're thinking too much into it.
It's because I read. It's because I read nothing but books. That's all I ever do.
Anyways.
I can't help it. I like a good story.
Well, you know what? Halloween Kills is just more of us just getting... Okay, this is the way it works. Halloween 2018 does have a somewhat of a story. Halloween Kills doesn't really have a story. And then Halloween Ends just is... Yeah.
But we'll save that special one.
Yeah, we'll save that.
Next episode.
We'll save that for next week.
That's gonna be my favorite episode.
Anyways, we see a young Lonnie, and Lonnie it was actually used to pick on Tommy Doyle or whatever, and then in the original one,
punk ass kid.
well, no, in the original, Lonnie was picking on Tommy, telling him the boogeyman's gonna get him, and then Lonnie actually sees Michael early on in the day in the 78 version. But anyways, and then the Mulaney's are beating the shit out of Lonnie. It's a 3v1, and then a cop pulls up.
Oh, I know, the poor boy just got bitch slapped.
And the cop pulls up, and he asks if everything is all right, and asks them if they've seen anyone wearing a white mask, and the kids are like, it's Halloween, everyone's wearing a mask, and he's like, and the cops just like, yeah, go home, and they're like, what did he do? And he's like, he killed 3 people down the street, so go home. I'm like, why would you tell kids? Just like, get home or hop in the car. I would take y'all home.
No, these kids are fucking punks.
That is true. And anyway, I'm gonna say what I was gonna say. And then we see Lonnie running down the street, and like basically it's like a tense scene, and like there's echoes, like basically like when kids are scared, they hype themselves up or whatever, and like
still me.
And so Lonnie is like very scared, and he ends up tripping on the sidewalk. And then whenever he looks, you don't see anything, and when he looks behind him, he actually sees Michael walking towards him.
Just imagine, dude.
I would shit myself.
Just imagine. You trip on the sidewalk, and it's dark as fuck after you just heard that he's been killing people. And you trip, and you're a little kid, and all you hear is deep, like, breathing that comes from a mask. Just, like, behind you.
Well, apparently in this scene, too, Michael had loud-ass footsteps somehow. But he sees Michael, and like Michael's like looking at him. He like looks down. He's like, don't kill me, or whatever. And then the cops grab Lonnie, and he like freaks out, and he's just like, you didn't see him, and they're like, who? He's like, the boogeyman. And then Lonnie runs off, and then surprise, Pete realizes they're standing in front of Michael Myers' house. And so the 2 cops, they go inside the house to investigate, and they're both searching the bottom of the house, and they don't find anything. And then they hear like a thumping sound upstairs, and they go up and check the rooms, and they find nothing. And the one cop with Pete, he goes up to the window and where Michael always used to stand, and he's just like, to Haddonfield, the town where nothing ever happens. And then he looks down, and he sees footprints there, and then like a split second later, Michael like grabs him or whatever, and he's like choking him out. I have no clue what he's choking him with.
So I need a little bit more information. So in this timeline,
you keep going back to this timeline shit.
Okay, so, because Oh no. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So in the first one, in the what year was it?
78.
1978. Yeah, in 78. Didn't they take Michael away after he killed his sister?
When he was a kid,
And then what? He just escaped?
he escaped in 78.
And he's been hiding in his house this whole time?
The first one, the tagline of the movie is "Evil finds its way home." Because in this timeline, basically, it's all about the window. Like he stalks, he looks out the window, he stalks, he kills, he goes back home, and rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
So
You know, at this point,
he's just
why
the
wouldn't they
boogeyman.
just tear it down? Yeah, but why wouldn't they just tear it down?
That's why. Why don't they ever tear down any houses? They don't. They leave it there. Anyways, ask about the timeline one more time. We're stopping the podcast. And then he sees the footprints, and then out of nowhere, Michael grabs him. All right. So as I was saying, the cop Pete is getting choked out by Michael. I have no clue what Michael's choking him with. And then Hawkins.
I think it was his forearm. You talking about?
No, it wasn't his forearm. It was Michael had something, and he was choking him with. I have no clue. Hawkins runs up there, and he's telling Michael to stop, and he's like, let him go. He will shoot him, and then Hawkins, I think he shoots like once or whatever, misses or whatever, and he shoots again. Then he ends up shooting his partner in the neck.
Yeah, it's a tragedy.
And then Michael runs. I almost said Michael runs away. Michael walks away, and he's walking downstairs, and Hawkins shoots him tries to shoot him like a million times and misses every single time.
This is the kind of thing that just aggravates the living fuck out of me. Be a better shot, okay? You see this man. It's bad enough that this man right here, Michael, gets the shit beat out of him, gets shot so many times, and it doesn't even faze him.
Well, Hawkins
Overpowered much?
Hawkins doesn't shoot Michael.
Like at all, and I'm like, bro.
And then so
But I guess they're trying to capture like the element of like what it would be like in real life, you know, because you just don't know.
well, I mean, if Hawkins is
what
like
you would do in
fear or
that
whatever,
situation
maybe,
until
but
you're
like
actually in it.
but Hawkins while Michael's getting away, Hawkins goes up check back on his partner, and the other cops show up and like they surround Michael, and then we see a Dr. Loomis. We see a look-alike Dr. Loomis, and he's like, did Michael kill? Did he kill again? And then after that, it cues
That wasn't actual Dr. Loomis.
Donald Pleasant's been dead for a while.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't
We
know
literally
that.
just went over that in the cast. Jesus.
ADHD, y'all.
And then cue the opening credits
It's severe over here.
with Michael being surrounded by, a bunch of cops, and then the credits open up, and we see like a bunch of burning pumpkins and stuff, and then the music is like more dramatic and has like much more like piano in it, and then it has like like type of sounding in the background. I don't know. I was trying to match the theme. And then after the credits, then we open up at the town bar. The two new characters. We actually saw them from the last movie. They're the black couple, Marcus, and then whatever the lady's name is.
Oh, the Romeo to my Juliet.
What?
The white and black couple?
No.
Oh.
No, I'm talking about the two black people, Marcus and the other lady, the ones that were dressed as the nurse
It's
and
like I
the
have
doctor.
selective hearing sometimes.
Yes.
Forgive me.
And then so they're at the bar and they're sitting there talking or whatever about like how his boss was like inappropriate and everything like that. And then we see Lindsay, Tommy, and Lonnie, and then Mary, and they're all having a good time, being really loud like in front of him, and they're like, "Hey, can y'all like just like bring it down, be quiet a little bit and everything." And then Marcus goes get some drinks for them, and then the bartender's like, "Hey, don't pay them no mind. They're just Basically they're friends with Lori, and he's the bartender like tells them the story. He's like, yeah, Lori, when got attacked by Michael and everything. He's we hear the story about what happened to Lori like several times in this movie.
Yeah, but we don't get more of Michael's story.
Michael doesn't have a story. He's just evil. Just accept it.
I can't.
Jesus.
I'm a bookworm. I have to have a good story.
Jeez, just accept it. And then basically he's like, yeah, they come here every year, tears in their beers.
Tears in their beers.
And then
make that into a shirt.
tears in their first t-shirt idea, tears in their beers.
Tears in their beers.
And then
every drunk person walking into the bar, sad. That's like the story of everybody's life, man. Tears in their
and then Lonnie goes up to the stage because it's a talent show that they're at, and he introduces Tommy, saying that Tommy's gonna be doing a bird whistling act. And then Tommy's like, yeah, Lonnie put me up this shit. He's like, but I'm not doing a bird whistling act. He's like, have you? And then basically, I'm not gonna go into much detail about it, but Tommy tells the story about Michael Myers' 1978 events that happened that night. And like he introduces Lindsay, Mary, Lonnie. He tells Lindsay was the girl next door. Mary was the doctor. Lonnie survived a face-to-face encounter with Michael, which wasn't really face-to-face. And then Tommy was the little boy that Lori was babysitting. And
Tommy Doyle.
Good old Tommy Doyle. And he's like, it's Halloween night in Haddonfield where terror is supposed to be fun. Basically, he's like trying to be like creepy. Like, I don't think he's trying to scare people. He's just really trying to warn people. Jupiter. Jesus.
For y'all that don't know, we have 2 huge dogs, and that was our lovely girl getting her itching on.
Okay, and then so yeah, and he says the boogeyman is coming back, and they will be ready this time, and they won't succumb to fear, and they toast to Lori, and Lori. Then we see Lori. The Strodes the 2018 ended with them in the back of. It ended with them in the back of a truck, basically on their way to the hospital. And then they see a fire department passing them, and Lori's like, let it burn, let it burn. And then
that was at the beginning of the movie.
We're still at this whole thing. There's a bunch that happens towards the beginning of the movie. We gotta get flying here. And so basically the firefighters get there, and they're trying to put out the fire. And then one of the firefighters actually falls to the floor, and he falls into the basement where where Michael was trapped. And he's calling for backup. He's like, Mayday, Mayday. He's using his signal. And then Michael is there basically, not burning and everything because he's hiding in the gun locker. And then he takes the firefighters, I guess it was like a pry bar or whatever, and he kills that firefighter. And then another firefighter comes. He's like, hey man, grab my hand. You can't really see it because all the smoke and everything. And then you see Michael grab his hand. And then I had noted here, one of my favorite scenes ever in any Halloween movie is we get the shot of Michael walking out of the burning house. Like, that's one of my
total badass,
fucking like John Wick, like just showed up on scene. I actually noted, so I noted it. Michael walking out of the burning house and then goes full John Wick on these firefighters and absolutely destroys them within seconds. That's how I wrote down that fight scene.
Within seconds.
My notes keep saying the strides instead of the Strodes. The strides. So we got the strides here. The Strodes are at the hospital. Karen is telling the doctors about Lori and like what happened. And then Brackett, remember he's the original cop sheriff from the first from 78. He's the security guard at the hospital. He hears Lori's name, and Karen's washing her hands and realizing everything that's happened and crying. Lori's getting like major surgery for a knife wound. Allison is sitting on the stairs, and Karen comes and tells her like, hey, She's gonna be all right. And then they're both reflecting on everything that happened and like basically how their dad's gone. And Karen's like, he'll always be with us.
So bad.
About Ray, like, come. Okay, I'll give it to Ray. I think Ray could have took the dad from Speak No Evil. Okay, I'll give him that.
Oh yeah,
It's all good.
the main dad from Speak No Evil is a fucking pussy.
Spoilers. Okay, so then we meet the interracial couple you were talking about earlier. The lady, what she was the caretaker from 2018. She she's in this, and then so she's flying she's flying a little drone talking to, and then her husband comes in there and be like, hey, this smells this mask, because he's had like a sleep apnea mask. So she's flying the drone, and then her husband comes down with a sleep apnea mask or whatever, and he's like, this thing smells like cigarettes, whatever. And she's like, no, that's Laurie Strode's house burning down. And then basically he's talking shit about Laurie, and she's like, you don't be talking shit about Laurie, she'll come over here and beat your ass, basically. And then as she's flying the drone, it goes into the bathroom, and he's like, you don't know how to fly that. And so he takes the controller and starts flying it. And whenever he goes to fly it, it gets thrown out of the bathroom.
Yeah, see, this is the Romeo and my Juliet couple right here.
That Romeo Juliet couple, that's a cue to fucking get out. A drone something just got thrown out of your bathroom.
And and I was talking to you about this last night. I would have loved to see just one smart couple or one smart individual.
This movie is riddled with unsmart people.
So. I know. And it just makes it I can't. Why? Like, I would have just loved to see just one smart couple, one smart person do the actual thing that we probably would have all done. This big motherfucker's gonna be standing.
Julian was the only from 18. Julian's the only one who ran out the house, and he is a kid. But
I don't know.
So
when stuff like that happens, obviously you want to run. So
the drone gets thrown out of the bathroom, and then they're like, "What the fuck was that?" And so the dude goes in there. He turns on the bathroom light, and then Michael instantly breaks the light because Michael was bandaging his hand from getting his fingers blown off in 18. And then the dude closes the door or whatever. He's like, hey, there's a...
How many fingers did he get blown off? Like
two. And the dude's like, there's a man with a scary mask in the bathroom, basically. And he's just like, well, she's like, well, what the fuck does he want? He's like, I don't fucking know. Like, run! Like, and he's trying to like walk around or whatever. And I get Michael pulls him from, I guess, the outside window. Michael grabs him and basically like pulls him down on some glass, and piece of glass goes through his neck and stuff. Oh, he should have been smart. He should just run.
There's the woman.
And then
come on, people.
And then the lady's trying to run outside. She's trying to run to the door, and then she turns around and sees Michael standing there. She just freezes in fear. Like, people react differently to fear and everything. I can't tell you if Michael was chasing me. I think I'll just let him kill me, because he's gonna get me eventually. Because in this movie, he's like a fucking ghost, because he's everywhere.
This point, if you sense that some stranger is in your fucking house, are you going to go in and investigate? Like, really?
Investigate?
Now, I could understand.
We're not talking about the dude. He's already... Well, he's not dead yet. But
I'm just saying, like, why wouldn't you immediately get the fuck out? Like, I can't...
So okay, well,
These characters are so dumb.
Okay, well, we'll find out one day. Maybe someone...
I really hope not. Don't ever say that. I speak that into existence. What the fuck is wrong with
you? But she just stands there in fear or whatever, and Michael walks over to the stove, and he grabs... It's like one of the tube lights. He grabs it off the thing, and he breaks it, and then he shoves it into her neck.
Yeah,
and
he
so
just
now
casually walks over, and I'm like, but you just unlocked the door. Open the fucking door.
And then so like she has a big old hole in her neck now.
Like, what are you
And then
doing?
Michael drags the dude to the kitchen and throws him like over the island, and then he starts stabbing him in the back with several different knives as she watches, I guess, until he finds the knife that he wants.
Knife selection. Nope.
So,
This one. Stick.
and then so back at the talent show, still going on. Lonnie gets a call from Cameron saying that he needs him to come pick him up, and that two people, that he needs him to come pick him up, and then because he's at the park where Hawkins got stabbed. He's like, hey, there was an officer that got stabbed. And then the black couple from earlier, they're like, yeah, we know all about that scary boogeyman shit. So there's so many holes in this movie. Like, I love this movie because I just love Michael killing people. But there's so many holes in this. If they know the story of Michael, there's so many people in this movie that know the story of Michael, and yet none of them can identify what he looks like. That is the biggest plot hole in this movie. That they don't. Michael is a towering man, and he is not Umbrella Man. I'm calling him Umbrella Man.
Interesting. So you're saying that in this franchise, Michael has there's never been a full face scene.
They show just we'll get there. We'll get there. And so like, yeah, we know all about the boogeyman shit. Yeah, and then like I said, Cameron's at the park, and then Lonnie tells Tommy like, hey, Cameron's in trouble, needs help. And then the cops and old Sheriff Barker or whatever,
Sheriff Barker,
they're back at Lori's house. And the sheriff's like, motherfucker. Because he see the house burn down and all the firefighters like fucking dismembered. And then they're like, hey, all
John Wick shit right there.
And then like all the unit, and then basically like all units are going to be deployed to search and find Michael Myers. And then at the bar, everyone's getting like phone updates and everything. Everyone's phone is like dinging at the bar, and then we see on the news, it shows that 4 bodies have been found, and 2 people, the couple we met earlier, they see Julian on the TV and like, hey, that was Miss Dewbottom's house. And
Sorry.
what are you doing? Don't touch me. And then yeah, they said, so this is what you were talking about. There's 2 mugshots on TV. You got Umbrella Man and you got Michael Myers. Out of those 2 people, if they had mugshots, which one do you think is fucking Michael Myers? And I'm not body shaming anyone. Do you think it's the fat chubby one, or do you think it's this?
Oh yeah,
this
real people, common sense.
Like,
you're gonna go after a fat chunky person? Do you think? I mean, I guess like anybody is capable.
For sure, but
like very few people have lived whenever they came like across.
For sure, but Michael's been locked up for 40 years, so everyone knows, or at least news and everything like that, they're gonna know what Michael looks like and everything. Maybe they didn't disclose which patient was what to the public, but still, I see 2 people on TV, I'm gonna be like, that big motherfucker right there, that's Michael Myers. This little short fat dude is not Michael Myers.
I felt so bad for him.
Like just okay, like you gotta have some kind of common sense. Like that's my biggest issue with this movie. Like I said again, I love this movie.
It lacks common sense.
But it lacks common sense.
And correct. I'm telling you, and people need to get the fuck out of the way.
Okay.
If people were to just stay away from him, it'll be fine. Unless if you're the one being hunted, then Godspeed. And
then the couple, they're like, hey, we gotta go, cause they lived on that street. Yeah, they lived on that street, and they're like, hey, we gotta go. Like, basically, we gotta get home. And then they go outside, and then the guy's like, hey, that lady sells my stethoscope or whatever. He's like, I'm gonna go get it. And then she goes to the car and gets in, starts the car. She looks behind her, and then I guess this is where they're trying to play with the fear aspect. Like, she sees someone in a car, she immediately thinks it's Michael. Okay, believable. But still, if you saw his face, you would be like, dude, that's not. And she did see him, but I said again. But then she runs in there. She runs up to her husband. She's like, hey, he's in there. And she's like, goes up to her husband. She's like, go check it out. He's like, oh, hell no, I ain't gonna go check that out. Smart. Smartest fucking person in the movie.
She's like, go check it out.
He's like, hell no. And she's like, basically, she's like, you fucking pussy. And then she runs into the bar, and she tells Tommy that he's outside. And then everyone's like, be like, oh, Tommy Doyle gonna fuck him up. Tommy grabs the bar bat. Even if that was Michael, what the fuck? I'm sorry. What is a bat gonna do to Michael Myers? Like, I love what the character of Tommy in this.
Nobody has aim in this movie either. Okay? Except for Laurie Strode.
Laurie doesn't have aim in this movie. She is bedridden.
Well, I'm talking, like, I guess I'm referring to the first one. Like, it's like, remember, this is like all same day shit.
Yes, it is. It's kind of like how they did the 78 into 81, the part 2. And then, so, where was I at? Yeah, Tommy goes outside basically to confront Michael. And then some like intense music starts playing, and outside the car starts. Cause I thought the car was already started, but the person in the car starts the car, and Tommy tells Lindsay, he's like, "Hey, I got this." And then we start hearing Figaro, which is what one of the insane people were saying, and Figaro, and then he changes the station again, and then Tommy hits the car with the bat, and then the car peels out and ends up crashing down the street. And then when they get over there, there's nobody in the car, and then we see the little guy with the umbrella running away. And then like Tommy is like basically like gaslighting himself up, like, or not gaslighting, he's like trying to hype himself up. He's like, I'm gonna get you, be like, Tommy, you ain't gonna do shit. And then I love these next two people that I'm about to introduce. We meet Big John and Little John.
Yeah, Biggie and Smalls, man.
I love Big John and Little John, and they do not introduce each other or talk to each other without saying Big John or Little John. That's the only way they talk to each other.
Love that.
But Big John.
They would have been really cool friends to have.
And then Big John is upstairs getting high and listening to spooky music. He's listening.
As one should.
He's listening to that spooky song like "Bees Shake Their Ass" or whatever. He actually explains a thing about bees shaking their ass later. I actually wrote that down. I typed it down. My bad. And then Little John is downstairs making a platter for them to like sit down and eat, watch a movie. And then Little John goes upstairs and basically scares him. So Little John goes upstairs to Big John and basically like scares him or whatever. And he's like, "Hey," he's like, "I found some old spooky records. You want to get?" He's like, "You want to get high and dance or whatever?" Because Little John's like, "Hey, I thought we were gonna watch a movie or whatever."
You know what's funny?
Huh?
Big John is the short one. Little John is the tall one.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
And then they get a knock at the door because they got some trick-or-treaters. And then Little John opens the door, and the girl's like, "Hey, we got some candy bars from you, and there was a razor blade in, the old tale of razor blades and candy." And then they play. Basically, it's like these three kids are playing a prank. Because Little John goes up to her.
To get all of their fucking candy.
Little John just like, "Hey, Big John, come here." Girl swallow the razor blade, and then their door slams or whatever, and they're like, "What the hell?" And then basically the kids are just playing a prank on them to get all their candy bars, and then
like, what the fuck?
And basically Big John and Little John is like, "You don't know whose house this is?" He's like, "You don't know who you're fucking with?" And they're telling like, this is Michael Myers' house and everything. Like, he stabbed his sister in the tits. So basically they're trying to spook the kids and then like tell them a story.
Straight in the tits.
And then they scare the kids away. And then see Lori laid up in the hospital bed, and Karen's watching over her. And Alice sees Frank being wheeled in, and then she sees a naked Sartain in the morgue for some reason. You see Sartain's penis. It was very yeah.
I never noticed that.
You see it, it's very disturbing. See a naked Sartain. Like, we didn't need to see that. And
Ooh.
then the cops show up and wants to talk to Allison, ask her some questions. Allison is like, because the cops like, how did Michael get there? And basically she's like, it wasn't ever. She's telling the cop like, I was never supposed to talk about Michael Myers. Lori was basically telling the truth all along, and Allison tells the cops that it was Sartain's obsession that brought Michael and Lori together. Karen's talking to the sheriff and like about how they killed him and like how it's done, and he's like, no one told you. Michael Myers is alive, and then at both same time they're both like, what the fuck? Her and Karen and Allison.
Yeah, Allison is just fucking fed up at this point.
She's like, what?
Oh, that was good.
Uh,
That was
so,
a good moment.
and then
She played that well.
Allison, yeah, she's like, what the fuck? And then Cameron shows up and he's like, hey, dude, like, I'm sorry for it all. She's like, hey, he's like, hey, we're, Tommy Doyle is forming up some groups of people and like, we're going to go after Michael. And is like, this has to end. And then Karen's like, no, Karen basically goes up to Alice, is like, nah, bitch, you're going to come over here and you're going to go sit next to your grandma's bed. Because Karen, doesn't know, for some reason, somehow Karen doesn't know that it was another plot hole here. She doesn't know that it was Sartain's obsession. I guess Allison didn't relay the information to her because she keeps thinking that Michael's coming to Lori, which isn't true.
If you remember, I actually talked a lot about that last episode.
Oh, about how it's confusing, how it's like, hey, Michael's coming, but he's not.
Yeah, like Michael's after Lori, but at the same time,
They kind of didn't know.
It's like they just end up like getting put together.
Yeah, and then they
I'm
end up.
happy there was some clarification there.
Well, they kind of get put together in the last one too. Yeah. But anyways, and then we see where was that? Oh yeah, and then room, because Karen thinks that Michael's pursuing Lori when that's not true. Allison is basically Allison sitting there with her grandma reflecting on everything, and she the knife she had, she like puts it, like hides it next to Lori, and then she also leaves a note for her mom, and then she runs off. Lonnie and Tommy show up, and Lonnie's like, yeah, Lori's there, she just got out of surgery, and Tommy's like, we all got to come together on this to stop this. So I was like, it's like the Avengers start teaming up here, show up to team up and all get some of Lonnie's guns. So they get Lonnie's guns to get stashed that he has stashed in his car, and Allison shows up, and basically she gets first pick. Lonnie's like, yeah, sure, help yourself, and she gets a shotgun. And then Tommy starts driving up to gas stations and is like basically hyping people up and be like, hey, we need groups of people. People ain't afraid to get their hands dirty. Yada, 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 yada. He's just trying to get a bunch of people together so Michael can kill them later. And then Lonnie, Cameron, and Allison, they're all together basically going down the streets telling people to get in their homes and lock their doors. And then Mary, Lindsay, and then the black couple, Marcus, I still don't know what his wife's name is. They pull up towards a playground because they see like kids on the two girls on the swing set. And Lindsay gets out, and
those kids had it coming for them.
Yeah, the little assholes. So Lindsay gets out and she goes over there to investigate, and basically like she's like, hey, it's not safe here. What are y'all doing here? She's like, yeah, basically they're being little assholes, and then they're like, yeah, there's a guy playing hide and seek, we think he's a pervert, and he's wearing like a white mask, and they're like, where'd he go? And they're like, oh, there he is, and standing behind Lindsay's car. And then Mary sees Michael behind the car, and Lindsay tells the girls to get out of here. Because Michael is holding the boy friend that they had, the third kid. He's holding his severed head. Yeah. And Lindsay's like, "Hey, y'all get out of here!" And then she's gathering up some bricks.
Wait, that was the kid's whole head?
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't see the blood dripping from it? Yeah, Michael cut little shithead's head off.
Oh my god.
I
didn't realize that was a whole head. I thought it was just a bloody mask.
That's nothing. I literally saw Art the Clown in Terrifier 3 butcher a kid. That's nothing. Uh, but so and then Mary sees him, and then Michael like turns, and Michael gets on the roof, and basically Michael's like going from window to window, um, messing with her essentially to basically get her to waste all of her bullets, and then he drops down. Because Marcus is like, hey, fuck this, we gotta get out of here, and tries to get in the driver's seat. Michael drops down and opens up the door, and
I know, it's kind of like he was playing Spider Monkey on top of the car.
and then
He got up there so fast.
And then Marcus is like, hey, shoot him. And then Mary's like, this is for Dr. Loomis. And then she goes to shoot.
Yeah, he was messing with them until the bullets.
No bullets.
He
And then he guts her, or he stabs her, and everything. And then Marcus tries to use his stethoscope to try to choke Michael. He's like, die, die. And then Michael just turns around and stabs him in the eyeball with his knife, which that was pretty hilarious because the dude's like,
He's just twitching.
He's just sitting there twitching, and then the lady,
the poor lady.
The lady, she's shooting because basically there was a whole scene like saying like, why the fuck do you have the gun? She's like talking to her husband like, why do you have the gun? You can't shoot. And apparently she can't shoot either because she's trying to shoot Michael. She keeps missing, and then she gets closer and closer to the car. And then Michael kicks the door open, and it hits her, and then the gun turns and she shoots herself in the face. And then Michael's just sitting there like admiring what just happened.
No, he's just like, well, I'll be dead.
And then Lindsay comes. I don't know why Lindsay just didn't run away, but Lindsay fucking comes behind him with her bag of bricks and smacking him around and everything.
Just a little bit smarter.
And then he grabs Lindsay and starts choking her, and then she goes to remove his mask, and then Michael stops choking her, and then he tells where he can put his mask back on, and Lindsay runs off, and basically she's like hiding, like there's a bridge in the park, and she's like hiding like under like this big tree that kind of is like out a little bit.
If they would have realized just how much power that mask has over Michael.
Well, now what you said something about that last week, and at least with this trilogy, like it's definitely like I can definitely see what it is definitely noticeable. Like I get some people be like, no, the mask has no connection to him, but he is but I will say, you're kind of right. At least in this trilogy, he's very much obsessed with that mask
because it forms a self of identity.
And I kind of down with that. And then she's like hiding, and Michael's like looking for her. He can't find her, and then and so basically Michael just leaves. And then Karen comes to Lori's room and doesn't tell Lori what happened, and like because Lori's like, we got him, we did it. And then we see Frank get wheeled in next to Lori because he just had surgery. Lonnie tells Allison about how him and her dad freaked out with drugs at the lake, and like Allison starts crying and shit. Well, there ain't no time to cry, Allison. We gotta.
No, not really.
And then we see Lonnie investigating and stuff, and then like they see Lindsay's car, because Tommy is there investigating too, because he found Lindsay's car, and they go looking for everybody, and they find the couple dead on the merry-go-round with the two of the masks from the kids on them spinning around the merry-go-round, because Michael done set up a whole scene, and then Mary's hanging from the swing set with the witch's mask on, and Lonnie's like all bent. Lonnie's bent all out of shape right now.
So does that mean he killed the other kid?
No, they left their mask at the playground. The other two kids ran away. He should have killed them.
What is wrong with you?
They were little shitheads. They were being mean to the Johns. All right. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say that about kids, but still though. But yeah, Lonnie is like all bent out of shape. Lonnie is very emotional right now. He's like, oh God, Tommy. You gotta get it together, Lonnie. Tommy starts hyping himself up some more. He's like, I'm gonna get you. Tommy does that a lot in this movie.
I'm gonna get you.
And then
yeah.
Then Allison sees Lindsay, and then basically I think there was a scene cut out here because Lindsay looks worse for wear than whenever we last saw her.
She does.
She looks like she got the shit beat out of her.
But didn't she technically?
No, all she did was get choked and then she hid. But she's got like a little blood coming from her mouth and everything. Unless Michael choked the shit out of her.
Yeah, I don't.
But I think there was a scene that was cut out there. And And then back at the hospital, Laurie's talking to Frank, and they're reflecting on a relationship that they almost had when they were younger. I'm not gonna get all in that. It's like, oh, I liked you, you liked me, we held hands, we kissed, and everything like that.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna get into all that. No one cares because it didn't happen.
That was so cute though. I liked hearing that little tidbit though. I like backstories if y'all can't tell.
And then she's like, yeah, we killed Michael. My notes here is like, cause these dummies don't know that he's still alive, and he's like, and Hawkins is like, it's about time. And then what's left of the Avengers are reflecting on what just happened, and then back at the hospital again, we see panic setting in. Everybody's freaking out. Tommy shows up with Lindsay, like, hey, take her to the back. She needs help. And then Tommy starts hyping up hospital of fear-driven people, and is like, and then basically the sheriff and the cops are like, the sheriff's like, hey, Tommy, like, hey, like, we got this or whatever. And Tommy's like, we have watched your department fail tonight. They literally just found out, like, about the same time as you did about everything. So Tommy probably needed to take some ecstasy or like some chill pills or something to just chill the fuck out here.
Ecstasy does the opposite, babe.
Okay, well, my bad. He just needed to take a fucking chill pill, okay? That's what I meant. Leave me alone. And so basically Tommy's like, he's like, no, fuck the sheriff's department. We're going to handle this. And he's like, evil dies tonight. We get our famous line, evil dies tonight, and we will not hear the end of it. We will hear this a million times before the movie is over. It's kind of, I like it. It's kind of corny and whatever, but I like it.
But how wrong they were.
Oh, but so wrong they were. And then Laurie hears Tommy yelling, and she's like, Tommy? And then Tommy barges in Laurie's room and is like, look, it's like, look, that motherfucker Mike is still alive, Laurie. And Laurie is like, what the fuck? Why didn't she has that look on her face like, what? Why the fuck nobody tell me that Michael is still alive? And Karen's like, I was gonna tell you, I just don't know how. And Laurie gives a speech about how they always fight and everything, gets out of bed and stabs herself in the ass with some pain meds. She's like, it makes the pain go away. Which
she jabbed it so hard.
Like, she could have just like jabbed it, like, just like she could have just like jabbed herself a little bit, but she like fucking like was going to kill herself with it.
She didn't last long on her feet though.
No, she didn't, because she just had major fucking surgery. And then she's like, well, she's like, Karen's basically, there's a system in place, to catch Michael, which technically in 1978 it worked. And she's like, well, the systems failed tonight. And she's like, well, maybe, let him take my head as I take his, somewhat, whatever. And then, and Karen's basically like, you just stay here and I will not let anything happen to you. And then we're back at the Johns. They're watching some movie on TV, and I wrote this down because I never caught this until now. See what happens when you take notes. John is talking about how bees shaking their butts, and it's how they like communicate, and they communicate and stuff like that, which I never knew that. So
that's interesting.
Oh yeah, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Who cares? It was in the movie, so it must be true. Same thing we said about Joyride a year ago, about the CB radio. Then they start hearing some knocking on the back door, and LOL John, little John, goes to check. There's nobody there, and then they hear banging at the front door, and Big John's like, well, now they're at the back door, or now they're at the front door. And then John goes to grab a golf club, and Little John's like, Big John, like, relax. And then he goes out there, and he's like, hey, you little perverts. He's like, well, you already trying to scare them. He's like, but those little shits are in the bushes. And then Lil John comes out there, and he's like, basically like, hey, just honey, come back in the house or whatever. And he's like, could you lock the back door? And then Little John goes back to look to see if he lock the back door, and surprise, the back door is open and there's a bloody handprints around, and Lil John is like, hey.
And then that's when I would have
exited
Big John, stage left.
Big John, we gotta get the fuck out of here. But no, this is John's house, all right? They got to secure this fucking house.
Technically, they just played finders keepers. It's
They're real estate agents. If you didn't know that.
no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're real estate agents in the movie.
What?
Yeah.
Where did you find that out?
It's like hidden in the movie, like you see like a sign or something.
Oh my god, those are my favorite couple.
And then so I said surprise surprise, back door's open, bloody head puts around, Lil Jon is like, hey, there's somebody in our house, and it's not a child. And Big John starts taking off all his jewelry, his watch and stuff, his bracelets. He takes off his robe and he grabs the little tiny meat knife. He's like, I got this knife. And then Big John grabs, or Little John grabs a big ass knife and he's like, I got this knife. And
Why the fuck? Just leave the house.
and then they hear a thud upstairs, and then Big John locks the door behind him and to go start heading upstairs. Why am I... Anyways, back at the hospital, everybody is seeing Umbrella Man. Back at the hospital, everybody is seeing Umbrella Man walking around, and he's got a gash on his head. He's begging for help, and like all these people are freaking out. And in a mob mentality type thing or whatever, like yes, all it does is like take one person and be like, hey, that's them, or whatever, and like yeah, everyone would be like yeah, you know. But this dude has a gash on his face. He's begging for help.
I felt so bad for him.
Well, he was in a mental institution for something. But...
Hey, do you want to explain why we're calling him the Umbrella Man?
Because in 2018 he was the fat dude outside. I can't remember his name, but he was the one outside holding the umbrella because he's...
Yeah, so whenever the investigative journalist came to where Michael was being held at the institution, there was this man that we are referring to as the Umbrella Man who was just standing there peacefully holding a little umbrella.
Keep explaining.
Oh, yeah, so in this, I think he looks sweet. But this little man was just standing in his perspective square holding the cutest little umbrella to block the sun from hitting his skin.
Yeah, so that's why I refer to him as Umbrella Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like one person's like, hey, that's Michael, and everyone like starts to panic, and everyone's like, hey, it's Michael, which, if, again, this movie lacks common sense. Even me.
Karen was the first person.
Karen's. Well, hold on.
The one who started all of this.
What do you mean?
He's coming to the hospital. He was never at the hospital.
Well, no, she finds out like, hey, like, Michael wasn't coming here or whatever. But and then like panic, like everyone starts panicking and tries to chase him down. Tommy starts to go to chase him down, but not after Tommy turns around and is like, evil dies tonight, and then turns back around and starts chasing him. And then we're back at the John's house. Big John is checking the rooms upstairs, and Little John is checking the rooms downstairs. Basically they're going to each room and be like, hey, clear, or whatever. Lil John sees himself in his own reflection in the mirror and gets spooked. It makes him jump. And then they're yelling at each other, when their room's clear. They're like, hey, Lil John. They're like, hey, Lil John, study's clear. And like, hey, Big John. And they're like, hey, Big John, kitchen's clear or whatever. And then whenever Big John goes to like look into their room, he has his arm up against like the door frame. He has his arm against the door frame, and then he gets stabbed in the armpit. Michael Myers stabs him in the armpit.
Oh, I know. That's such a horrible place to be stabbed to.
How would you know?
Weird place.
That's a big weird place to get stabbed. And then Michael like turns him around and gouges his eyes out. And then Lil John runs upstairs and sees Big John dead, and he starts crying. He's like, oh no, Big John. And then he looks up and sees Michael standing at the window once again.
Okay, at that point.
Run!
He's not attacking you.
What?
Fucking run!
No, what Little John does is even better. So Little John gets up and he's like, Michael, you've come home. And Michael turns around and all it like comes out of the house. You just see the window, and all you hear is Big John yelling.
No.
All you hear is Big John screaming.
Oh.
And then we're back at the hospital again. This movie jumps a lot. And the mob is like they're pursuing Umbrella Man, and Karen and Lori are like, hey, that's it, like it's not him, it's not Michael. And even Lori's like, you fucking sheep, it's not him. And then knees a doctor in the stomach or whatever, and then she busts open her stitches get busted wide open, and so Lori's back down. And then Oscar's mom sees her dead son in the morgue, and
That broke my
she
heart.
starts crying. And then Karen and the cop take Lori to her room, and then like they trying to tell people and
Can you
everyone.
just imagine seeing your son dead on a table filled?
Why would I want to imagine that?
No, I mean, but I just realized that like it's where they like. I guess they didn't have time to do it. You know, I just hate that the mom had to come across her son that way. You know, instead of like putting each body in like private rooms. But no, they piled everyone up
Well,
into
Michael's
one
leaving a
room.
fucking trail of bodies.
I know.
So,
That's so.
but yeah, they're like yeah, the cop. Then let me get back to my notes. Yeah, they take Lori to her room, and then they're trying to stop the mob. And then Tommy punches a cop in the face because like the cops are like, "Hey, Tommy, just stop, just stop!" And Tommy assaults a cop. He would have been going to jail. Um, and then the sheriff basically he like takes off his cowboy hat because it's time to get serious. And like it shows the scene or whatever in a little bit or whatever, but he's like holding on to the rails, like trying to like block all these. Because the sheriff is a big man, like not like fat or anything, like he's a stout dude, and he's like trying to like hold all these people back behind him. um
And it's not working.
um and then
You know, I really thought people were gonna start getting crushed, and we were gonna get that kind of vibe.
And then Lori is talking to Frank, and is like, look, Michael's like turning us against each other, whatever. And Frank is telling Lori about like 78, how he stopped Loomis from killing Michael that night because he just saw a boy. He saw Michael as a boy, just a lost boy, and instead of letting Loomis put one in his dome, he stopped him from shooting him. Because all the other cops, it shows the flashback scene, like shows all the cops beating the shit out of Michael, and then Loomis is about to put one in his dome, and then Frank stops him. His dome, his head. Yeah, they were. Yeah. Loomis was about to put one in his dong. um, and then yeah, he's like he stopped Loomis from killing Michael that night because he just saw him as basically as a boy. But then he was like, he's just pure evil. And Lori is like basically telling Frank like, you did your job as a cop, like it's not your fault. And
honestly, any good cop probably would have done the same.
for sure. And is like, now Michael has infected this town, is turning all of us against each other. And Karen finds Umbrella Man hiding on one of the top floors, and she's like, it's not you, I know it's not you. He's like, I won't let them hurt you. And then like he trusts her, and she's like, I'm not. And then she like locks him in a hallway that from like both sides. She locks the door one way, and she's like, lock this door behind me. And then the mob comes on one side, and the mob comes on the other, and like they're all trying to get in and everything. And she's basically, Karen's like telling like Tommy like, it's not him, and he's like, it's not him. Tommy's all confused. um and then he basically like, he's just like, why are y'all like yelling at me or whatever. And he grabs a fire extinguisher, and then like he starts breaking the window because they're breaking down these doors to try to get him. He breaks the window, and like he then like
Man doesn't know what's happening.
and then like all you hear is, evil dies tonight, evil dies tonight. And then Tommy is kind of like starting to realize that it's not Michael. And then Uh, and then the old Umbrella Man takes a jump from the top floor and goes splat on the pavement.
Oh, that was such a gruesome scene.
That is, I'm sorry, guy. Every time she says a gruesome scene, like now that I have watched all the Terrifier movies, the 1, 2, and 3, like I'm desensitized, very much so. Like that's not gruesome. And then Brackett, like Brackett goes down there or whatever to investigate the body. He's like, "Look, Tommy," and he's like, "Look, it ain't fucking him, Tom." And the Tommy's excuse is like, "How do we know? He's always worn a mask." Tommy.
It's not him.
Again, I like this movie because I've always wanted to see Michael just go to town. But like you said earlier, this movie lacks common sense like a motherfucker. It kind of makes me mad at this movie when more we talk about it. But I still um and like Bracket's like, look, now he's turning us into monsters. Um Everybody is like reeling from the events or whatever, and then we get like a flashback scene that honestly wasn't necessary. Basically like Frank being interviewed by the other cops or whatever, and one of the cops is like, hey, we'll just say that he was trying to shoot Michael and he shot himself or whatever, and like it was an unnecessary scene. And then Frank finally tells Lori and Karen that it wasn't Michael after them obsessing. So, see, I don't know why the fuck Allison didn't relay this information to her mother and grandmother. So, then maybe it could have made...
It could have totally...
Anyways, plot holes here. Frank is telling them that it wasn't... Michael wasn't after them. It was obsessing it. It was the doctor. And Frank telling the Michael... And then Frank is telling them about like how Michael likes to look out of his sister's window and everything. And then Lonnie, we see Lonnie and Cameron and Allison. Lonnie is talking to Cameron and Allison using a map. Basically, Lonnie's like pointing out like where all these murders and everything have taken place. And basically it's like an arrow pointing to Michael's house. And then...
That's crazy.
Yeah, Michael's trying to get home so he can look out that window.
Last time.
And then Tommy is talking to Karen and is like, and she's like, dude, you got my daughter out there within a vengeance task force going after the boogeyman basically. And and like she's like, someone got killed because of you. And Tommy's like, look, I'm sorry, I know I messed up, but I'm gonna go down and swing it. So basically Tommy has no intentions of stopping. It doesn't matter. Basically, it doesn't matter who he kills as long as he kills Michael. But Karen's like, hey, look, it's like, I need a car. And Tommy's like, I got a car. And basically like, all right, we got to go get him. And then we see Lonnie and them. They're at the John's house. Michael's house. Lonnie, he's telling the kids, like, y'all stay here. He's like, y'all don't move or anything. Y'all just stay here. I would not go into this fucking house. No lights on, no nothing. Nah, bro. It looks creepy as fuck. We stay in here till backup arrives, alright? But Lonnie is like trying to hype himself up before he goes in there. He like said he's telling the kids to stay here. And Lonnie knocks. You're going in a house where you think Michael's at. Lonnie knocks on the door. What the fuck am I gonna knock?
I don't know. Even as a kid, during that flashback, Lonnie just didn't seem like he was all the way there.
And
I know that's mean to say about a kid, but
yeah, so he walks in while the kids are watching them, and then immediately, you hear gunshots as soon as he walks in.
One single gunshot.
And then they both run in there out because Alex like fuck this, and then they both run in there, and like they're both ready to fight Michael. Two brave. My notes say two very brave ass kids, braver than me. They start searching the house and like they're very scared. I honestly like Cameron's like kind of like acting, especially when they're upstairs. Like he's like, I think he conveys the most fear. Like, I'll get to it because I'll just go and say now. Like when they're upstairs, like he conveys the most fear in my opinion. The way he's like holding the gun, he's like shaking and everything. And I don't know. I think Cameron did a good job on that part. And then they're searching the house, and then they open up a closet, and it's a pumpkin. There's a pumpkin sitting in the closet, and Allison blows it up.
Blow it up.
And then they hear some creaking upstairs, and they head upstairs. Uh, and I guess Michael done put music on, I guess for effect. He done put one of the John's records on the record player. Um, and then they
So Michael likes music.
and then they see the Johns murdered, and Michael actually set them up in a pose that they had a picture. How they had one of their pictures.
Sick.
He set them up.
Sense of humor.
He set them up.
It's sick.
And sorry. Yeah, and then Allison gets a knife from the knife that was in Big John. She pulls it out so she can use it later. And Cameron's like looking around. He looks in the room, sees nothing. He walks down the hallway with the gun. Like I said, this is the part where like I think Cameron does a good part of like acting like he's shaking or whatever. And then he looks up because blood starts dripping on his hand. And he looks up and he sees his dad dead, and he's like, his dad. No, I don't know. I think he. You know who Cameron looks like? Looks like Mike. Lucas. Asian.
Him?
Low-key. Yeah, low-key.
Looks
That's
like Nick Jonas.
no. He low-key looks like him. And then like he's like very upset or whatever. And then you see Michael comes out of this closet, and then Michael is walking fast. He comes out of the closet. He grabs Cameron. He starts choking him or whatever, and then he also stabs Cameron. And then Allison hears him. She's like, Cameron, and then Allison had a gun. I don't know why she didn't try to shoot him. But I think Michael knocked the gun out of her hands, because we actually got a picture pulled up right here where Michael's like staring her down. And then, yeah, so Cameron's down, and then Allison is like standing toe to toe with Michael. The firefighters couldn't go toe to toe with Michael, and she's sitting there stabbing Michael and everything. And then he like slings her around a little bit, and then he fucking like chunks her downstairs, and then you see her leg fucking like fold in half.
Ugh.
And so she's got a broken leg.
That made me sick to my stomach.
And then this next part really, it's not gory, but it's definitely is hard to watch how he murders Cameron. Basically like he takes Cameron as like head, and he's like slamming it up and down from like where like the railing is for the stairs. He's like slamming up and down and basically like breaking his neck several times. And then then he walks down. He starts walking down the stairs, and then he like turns, and he because Cameron is still alive somehow, and he like twists his neck around and basically just kills Cameron. And then Alice can barely walk, and she tries to stab him, and then he's got her pinned down, and she's about to stab him, or he's about to stab her, and then Alice is like, do it, and then surprise, carries out its pitchfork. And if you don't know where the pitchfork came from, it came from the Johns's.
Again, questionable decisions. Good, she got him down on the ground whenever she stabbed him in the back with it. Aim for the fucking head next.
Yeah,
What are you doing?
She pulled it out, and then she curb stomps the shit out of him on the stairs, and she takes his mask. And then you actually
Stab him through
you brought up a point here, another thing about the mask last night too. And she takes his mask. She's like, come get it. She's like, I'm an innocent girl. Basically like, I'm an innocent girl all alone, just like you like, which I don't know if that's like what he likes or whatever, but like and she's like, come get your mask. And she's like, you want it? Come get it. And so she runs off, and then Michael is like in hot pursuit, and then we get like the creepy version. I call it the creepy version of like the Halloween thing, because it has like it sounds like it sounds like some like background vocals have kind of like been put into it. And then Michael finds his mask laying on the street, because you mentioned like, because when that moment happened, you're like, see how attached he is to that mask, which, you know, I think
I know.
At least in this trilogy, yeah, because I mean, let's just say in Halloween Part 5, Michael takes off his mask to put on another mask to pick up a girl in Halloween Part 5. So he's not very.
In
So, but Michael finds his mask laying on the street, and then when he goes to like pick it up, he sees like a bunch of like headlights hit him or whatever, and then like the whole town has showed up, and uh Karen's like gotcha, which Karen's first gotcha was better when she shot him in the face in 18. That one was better because they actually did have Michael. In this one, she's got Tommy Doyle in the town behind her. Anyways, um, anyways, and basically they give Michael time to put his mask on. They're basically like, all right, we'll let him put his mask on. And then they beat the shit. They beat the shit out of Michael like royally. Like he gets shot, stabbed, beat up. Everyone is taking turns, swings. Tommy is taking swings at him, and Tommy tells Karen to go be with her daughter. He's like, we got this. Michael's like reaching for his knife. And Karen picks it up and stabs him in the back instead of the head. But it seems Michael is dead, which again.
See, we're gonna backtrack a little bit. Here I have pulled up a scene of Karen just stabbing him with a fucking pitchfork.
Which, I mean, if she stabbed him in the back right there, like, yeah, that's fine. But why didn't she take the pitchfork after and stab him in the head?
I don't know.
Those are your type of questions. But now I'm just like...
Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. Obviously, you're not wrong. Like, I don't want Michael to die because I like Michael Myers. But, like, anyways. And then Laurie, at this whole time, Laurie's, like, giving a speech of, like, how Michael, the more he kills and everything, the more he, like, transcends. And the fear that... the fear gives him his power and his strength, and it can't be beat by brute force. And Frank is like, well, if we knew now what we knew then, or whatever.
Look at that pain.
And then Brackett is basically like, he's like happy Halloween, Michael, or that, or he says like everyone's entitled to one good scare, and he goes to shoot at Michael, and then Michael fucking pulls the blade out of his back and turns around and stabs and kills Brackett, and then Michael slaughters the whole fucking town. He destroys the Avengers here. Like literally destroys all of them, and Tommy's the last one. In which, my surprise, why would you not leave Tommy? Like, say Tommy gets stabbed, but why not, like, have Tommy come back for the third one? Surprise, surprise, Tommy's dead here. But, like, and even, like, because Tommy had old Huckleberry, the bar bat, the whole time, and Michael actually takes the bat and smacks Tommy in the face at the end of it, I guess, to finish him off.
Yeah.
And then Karen's back at the house with Allison, with her daughter. And then she gets up and she's looking out. Jesus Christ. That's a hell of a picture you just pulled up. So Kayla she's going through pictures right now, and she found the picture of the lady that shot herself in the face after Michael kicked the door, and it just shows you just see the blood splatter like coming out. Jesus
and
Christ!
The firepower.
Wow, that's a hell of a picture right there. Oh shit!
I didn't expect to come across that.
All right. And so yeah, Karen gets up, and then she looks up at the that's what Karen sees in the window. She looks up at the window, and she sees like a little version of Michael, and then she starts going upstairs or whatever. And Karen's like looking.
How does she know what a little version of Michael looks like?
I don't know if she actually sees that or whatever, but
she pictures. Yeah, and it's pretty accurate too, though. The clown costume.
No, it's not.
That is a clown costume.
Okay, well, actually, that one is the one that Jamie wears in part 4 is not accurate, but, anyways.
Oh yeah, it's like one of my favorites.
And then she goes up to the room and looks in the window. You see nobody else in this fucking room, but Karen. But like and she's like looking out the window and everything. She's looking out the window, and just like a fucking specter or a ghost, Michael Myers comes out of nowhere. Literally, there was no one else in the room but her, and out of nowhere, somehow Michael has got across from behind police cars and everything, and barricades maybe even set up on the street, and somehow has appeared behind Karen, and slaughters Karen, brutally stabbing her, and it ends with Michael looking at himself in the window.
You know, that
Credits.
just broke.
Yeah, like why kill Karen? Like Karen was the main Karen and there was too many main characters.
Why
in this
couldn't
movie.
it just end like with you see Michael like standing in the window and then just like disappears into the darkness?
Well, like I told you last night after the movie was over, there was a deleted scene that was shot
Or passing out.
where Lori is actually calling Karen, and Michael picks up the phone, and all Lori hears is breathing.
Yeah.
See, I just wish that things were set up better to lead into our movie for next Halloween Ends next week. Like, what the? Let me look up this weirdo's name, because I don't know why I can't think of his name in Halloween Ends. Sorry, guys. I need to know this. Only Ends cast. Corey. Why wasn't Corey? Because Corey is the main character out of everybody. Michael, Lori, everyone, Allison.
Oh, this is the next
In Halloween Ends. Why was Corey not introduced in Kills? I wouldn't mind Halloween Ends as much if they would have kind of like set up stuff.
Didn't they say Corey was like a community? Like he was a big part of that community.
No, Corey was like a good kid or whatever. But why wasn't Corey set up in at least Kills or anything? Like introduced, not even towards the end. Like maybe like he was like one of like their friends, or like Allison and them's friends or whatever. Like instead of like him just showing up. I'm going to fucking tear apart Halloween Ends.
I can't wait.
You're gonna sit over and fucking praise it.
Yes, I am.
And I'm going to sit here and destroy Halloween
And
Ends.
I'm gonna make fun of you the whole time.
Okay, but anyways, that's for next week. Okay, so we did it on our last episode. We're gonna do every episode. We're gonna on a scale from 1 to 10. Where do you put this movie? Remember last week you gave Halloween 2018 a 4 out of 10.
This one's gonna be. I'm gonna give it. Turk just answered. Sorry, that was our other big dog.
So what do you rank it?
I'm gonna say probably like a 6.
A 6? So you like Halloween Kills better in 2018?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah. Probably because of all the action, like it moves the story along.
There's a too much shit going on in this movie, I will say, but it's just basically
like Halloween 2018 was a good setup, like it was a good intro, right? Upon the one.
But then Kills kind of got sloppy, and then Ends gets even sloppier. I love Michael Myers and everything, but like with these movies, like and when I start to like really analyze these movies and stuff, I'm just like, God.
No, I think I'm gonna change my answer. I think I'm gonna give this one also a 4.
You're gonna give it a 4 too?
I think so because of the common sense thing. It's just
there's no.
It wasn't there, and I would have at least loved to see one smart couple, but pretty much every character besides Lori was fucking dumb.
Well, Lori was laid up,
Exactly.
so she doesn't exist technically.
Exactly.
Okay, I gave 2018 an 8 out of 10, I think, or 7 out of 10, 1 or 2, but because I have a soft spot for 18. But Kills, after us watching it and like analyzing it and everything, I'm
Turk.
That's not my answer. My answer is higher than your mom's. Okay, I'm gonna have to give Kills probably. I don't want to give it a failing score because I do enjoy it. So I know 6 out of 10 technically is a failing score. So I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 because
He sounds so pitiful, y'all.
because of everything that is.
They're just laying down right now.
That is to come. The next movie, I'm going to tear it apart. And then remember also to our Halloween episode is going to be on Total Killer and it will be released on. So yeah, our Halloween episode is gonna be on Totally Killer. So, and then I have big plans and everything set for November and December, but I will talk about that on our Halloween episode. So thank y'all so much for listening. We hope that y'all enjoyed. Let us know what you think. You can find us over on TikTok. You can find us on Instagram. I'm definitely trying to post more stuff over on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube. If you can't listen, there's a video version of the audio on YouTube. And so like I said, I hope y'all really enjoyed. It's really a lot of fun for me and my wife to do this, especially I love horror movies, and she kind of gets to dive into the world of horror because she's not as adept as I am. So I hope y'all have a good one. Thank y'all. My co-host has left the building, not essentially, but she had to go take care of something. So I'm going to send y'all off. So thank y'all so much, and we will see y'all next week. And then I cannot wait for Totally Killer, especially after the abomination that Halloween Kills is. Thank y'all so much.